And we're recording. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. Uh, this meeting, I have a few things to go over. Michael will go over something, and then Ashlyn will present to us some nitpicks and solutions. So, first topic I wanted to address, I've seen this every now and then, and uh, please don't put rules above standing heads. They already have a rule built underneath where it says briefs. It just looks a little weird. If the standing head's next to like a story, just stretch the rule above the story and leave it at that. We don't need a double rule in that area. The next item I want to go over is please be reading the budget notes. We've had an example of recently a 3-story page. First story had 6 photos, but they were all optional. And what happened was like somebody asked if the stories could be held. Please just make sure you don't need to run all the photos if they're labeled optional. Just use your best judgment on that, and make sure. Otherwise, you're going to the pod or the editors, and they're like, "Well, it's marked optional. We don't need to hold the story." Just be reading those a little more carefully, please. And Michael will now go over some items.
All right, cool. Let me just share my screen here quick. I can figure it out. All right, so this is just kind of part of what I want to go over. One thing that we want to do is we want to try to instill a little bit more confidence in you guys. We know that you have the skills to add a word or two to a headline, but we still want to make sure that we're double checking what we're doing. Everybody's working in a rush, including you guys, and we understand that. We just know that the pod is short staffed at the moment. So, any question that we can take care of ourselves, does actually really help the next person, does allow that pod editor to try to get, either the content needed for the next page or some advanced content, which will eventually help our team get a lot of the stuff done. One of the things that I think is a question that we could change. A lot of the times, the skeletons will be close enough, for example. So you'll look right here that there's kind of a space here. I personally don't need the pod editor to add a word or anything like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, read it. I'm going to take a second to glance at the page. Like, so right here, it says Lakers, but I can make that Los Angeles. That would, that adds a little bit of length. I see also that there's a little bit of adjustment I can make. They're called kind of the big 3 here, but it's a little bit different in the story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that headline and I'm just going to throw it over here for now. I've already worked up a headline, but what I would do is I'd work up, the headline a little bit more. I wanted it to be a little bit smaller, so I added a word, right? This is all without reaching out to the pod or anything like that. And then I like to put these notes on the side, just so that I'm drawing attention to the fact that I added a word, that I rewrote that, but it still needs to be checked out. So I just basically just have a note on the side that said, the original headline is above. Can somebody please make sure that the adjustment on the page is okay? This is definitely something we can do if we need to fill out a headline, anything like that. Big changes, centerpiece A1, things like that, we should probably still be asking. But inside pages, especially if this is the only thing that you're waiting for on your page, these are certainly things that we can adjust to kick out right away. Let's just make sure that someone on the back end kind of has our back and is looking over that stuff. So that's just one thing that we can take back into our own hands. So that's all I got. Thank you.
All right. And Ashlyn, you are up.
All righty. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to share what I created. I created a page that is essentially the worst page I could make. So basically, there's a couple of things I want to go over that I look at when I first start making a page. One of the things that I noticed a lot when I first started, and I've had this problem come up a lot, is that when you go to create a page, the ad stack, for whatever reason, just will not be locked. So before I do anything on a page, I make sure that I go to both of them, or whatever amount of ads that you have, and I just lock them into place. Because later on, especially if the story changes and an editor's like, no, we have to do this now, you have to get rid of that, yada, yada, yada. It's very easy to like do the whole, oh, I'll just take this story. And then if you accidentally highlight over something, you could end up deleting a piece of paid content, even if it's small, right? So that's something I try and pay pretty close attention to right off the bat whenever I'm making pages. Another thing that bothers me, I see this a lot when it comes to like the FNS stuff. Whenever a story is written, a lot of times it tends to be written by like 2 or 3 people. So if you go up here to the byline 1, it'll say by Bob whatever, and then I made Jack Jackman Jack Attack. A lot of times the like one of the last names will be broken on an end dash, and on this one it's kind of broken on 2 end dashes, right? Because I added the Jack Attack there, and sometimes I see that too. So whenever that happens, I just try and balance it by hitting Shift Enter to make sure that it just all fits on its own line if it can. I would like to keep things together rather than having half of a name on one line and half of another on another. That just doesn't look good. To piggyback off of that a bit, I see this happen a lot too when it comes to like subheads in articles, where if you look right here, you have it so that the next is like just sticking out and it looks gross. And so in a situation like that, I would usually hit Shift Enter at the next just to make it a unified thing, and we're not leaving all this blank space in like random areas, because I feel like that looks
I'm in a meeting.
So I try not to make things look too unintentional. With that being said, I've also noticed when it comes to Sports Scoreboard, when you have subheadlines in Sports Scoreboard, sometimes, like let's say happenings and throughout the week are all supposed to be one thing, right? There's this space in between them. And when you process it through the scoreboard script, it will do that automatically. So I just hit Shift Backspace to delete that tab that it's automatically made there, so that we aren't getting like what's supposed to be one chunk of text broken into like 2 spaces. So that just doesn't look very professional to me. So another thing I noticed is this. It's the moon stuff. There, sorry, I got a little thing in my way. So whenever it comes to doing moon dates, one of the things I just personally do, I don't think this has been mentioned. If it has, I might have forgotten, is I try to put them in sequential order. So sometimes when you go to do it, the template has the first, full, third, new in that order. But if you do it in that order, then it starts on October 12th rather than October 6th. I don't think that looks good. So I just take all of it. I usually hold Shift when I do it so that when you move this up, it's staying parallel to where it was already. So it's referencing other things rather than we're just doing it willy-nilly. And then I just even it out so that when it comes out, it's in the sequential order like that. I just think it looks so much better when you can read it. Another thing that I've noticed, this just happens to do with CPs, and it's the CP photo. When it comes to the CP photo, I notice a lot of the times that if you look up here where it says 0.5 point, the border of it stays on it even when it gets to proof. So I always just, when I get a CP photo, unless I'm doing something fancy and it's supposed to have a border, I just always take care of that. And to piggyback off of that, sometimes I see it where the CP photo, that has been removed, But if there's a secondary photo for it, that one still has the border on. That can go too. Just to make it look like it's one unified thing rather than, oh, this one has border, this one doesn't, this one does. It feels kind of like disorienting. And then the one last thing I have is I'm going to call out Wilmer for a second, which is one of my favorite pastimes. So on Wilmer templates, I don't know why, but there's one line right here at the top and one line at the bottom. And sometimes I see that this top line gets dragged down, and they have their kind of bishop thing here with the information. So it kind of looks like it's supposed to be in one box, which I imagine is why the line there. But sometimes that line gets moved down with this one, and you get this overlap right between the two, just a little bit of overlap. I think that looks disgusting. So the first thing I do whenever I make a Wilmer page, if it has weather, because this is a weather specific thing, I just delete one of them, and then I move the other one up the full length of the page. So it just doesn't have that weird overlap. And yeah, I think that's kind of all I got for today. So any questions?
Yeah, I mean, we can.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I will stop sharing. Ta-da!
All right. Well, I think that's all we had. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, that's all we had. Yeah, I'll fix that on the Wilmer template. That overlap is really ugly. And so I'll fix that, and designers keep an eye out for that. Well, that'll be fixed. If there's nothing else, I have a happy rest of your Thursday, and talk to y'all later.